All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Daily Palantir numero 002. Dose. Numero dos. We are here. Palantir. Now, it is 8 p.m. and at 8 p.m. we get the updates from ARK if they bought or sold any stock. So I'm pulling up my email right now. This is actually kind of like a junk email. I don't really use it for much. But we are going to see if we get the email live. I'm sharing. Oh, there we go. Here we go. I'm opening it. I haven't seen it right now. I haven't seen it. I'm opening it right in front of you guys. Here we go. Here it is. It's AOL. Don't judge me. There it is. It says ARK Trading Desk. Let's press it. Wow. No Palantir. No Palantir. What that means is that there were other institutions buying Palantir. That's what that means. That's what that means. That's actually kind of bullish, to be honest, because if other people or other institutions are buying Palantir and it wasn't ARK, yeah, ARK did nothing today. They bought more Zoom because that's a great idea. And they sold Shopify and DraftKings. All right, so what that says, if you're just coming in, ARK did not buy any Palantir. Oh, my mic's fucked. Is my mic fucked? Oh, the mic is fucked. 1 second. 1 sec. I just realized. Okay, we're about to change it right now. Sorry about that, guys.
There you go. Okay, mic should be better now. If that is the case, then that means that essentially that means that other institutions were buying, which is actually a really good thing. You know, it was interesting because the move we saw today, and we have a lot to get into to talk about in the next hour, and then we have Finance Junkies at 9 p.m. today. So if you're interested in Finance Junkies, it's not at 10 today, it's 9 p.m. Eastern. The move we had today, you don't get an 11-12% move in a day unless there are heavy buyers. I mean, unless there's a short squeeze, which I don't think there was. I don't think the short interest was that high enough. Or there's a massive catalyst that retail is like, oh my God, like they just acquired blah, blah, blah. We have to buy or something. There's 2 billion outstanding shares. And with 2 billion outstanding shares, you just don't get the level of price appreciation that you would imagine you get when it comes to Palantir. So that means some institutions had to buy. The question is, where were those institutions? Who were those institutions? Why did they buy? Kind of how did they strategically think of it? And if it wasn't ARK today, then who was loading up? Who was loading up on Palantir? This guy using AOL. This is like my junk email. I don't use it a lot. I use Gmail normally, but yeah, that's why I use that. Bay Ray, hello. Emmanuel, what's up, man? Emmanuel, your Substack with Arnie, PalantirBullets.com is just absolutely phenomenal. You're doing a great job on that, so it's great. Lakers need a Palantir. Let's see what happens with Miami tonight. But Lakers, that was, at the end of the day, the Nuggets were just a better team. They were just a better team. Okay, so what are we going to go over today on this episode of Daily Palantir? Now, for those who are new here, I've decided to start a stream daily at around 8 or 8:30 p.m. every day, where I go live for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and I discuss the world of Palantir. There is more content than more things to talk about than I can even make content about. So I think a live stream every single day to kind of get you updated, 45 minutes, put it on in the background and just listen to it. And be able to get some information and anything that is important. So we've got a lot of different stuff to discuss, and we're going to go into it. Sideline money is coming in. AI FOMO, that is 100% correct. I think Think Real is absolutely correct. Today, if Kathy was not buying, then someone was buying. And that someone that may have been buying might just have been someone who's interested in AI and who has not had a position in Palantir. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Number one, we're going to talk about, we'll talk about the price action, right? It went up to $13, so I want to talk about that in a little bit. Number two, I want to talk about the new CNA Palantir deal, the press release that came out today. I made a video on it. You can watch that video. I'm going to do a brief summary of that deal and why I think that deal is so important and why it's one of the best press releases that came out for Palantir in, like, honestly, 2 years. Just in terms of how it was explained, and we're going to get into that. Number two, this is something I did not cover on the YouTube channel today. I'm going to make a separate video about it, but Palantir is laying off 75 people, or about 8% of its workforce in the United Kingdom, and this is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. What does this mean for the NHS deal? Are we getting rid of people because we are not getting the NHS deal, or are we basically saying, hey, because we have the NHS deal, we don't need these people? This is going to be a little bit of an interesting discussion, and so we will discuss that as well. And then finally, we'll go through some tweets because, the Palantir community on Twitter is absolutely great. And the tweets are very, very fun. So let's get into it. Love this end of the day look at Palantir. Okay, I love it. More to life, invest yourself. Thank you. I'm happy to do it every single day if you guys love it. Now, let's start with the obvious, okay? This is what was the obvious today, which was pretty insane. This is a meme that I posted on Twitter. So buying Palantir at 13, and, we're all kind of like, huh, versus buying Palantir at 7. I think this was the entire feeling everyone had today, because there was such an extreme level of like, wow, how did I not load up more at 7 after I see it bust through 13? Now, Palantir stock, if we look at it year to date, is up 97%. 97% and again, if we look at it year to date, it was pretty flat. If you see from January up until May, in May is where you're getting the real 75 to 85% of this run. So a 97% year-to-date rally today, and it was beyond that, because this is only at 1264. Palantir stock got all the way to, and let me share my screen here, $13. That was the big news of the day. We hit a high of 1332 at 11:10 a.m. We crossed 13 right around here, 1050. This is when I was live on my morning stream, and we were battling from 12.99 to 13 very deeply, like just going back and forth. We hit 13, then we went all the way back down to 12.91, and then we just busted through 13, and then we get to a high of 13.32, and then this is where I think a lot of retail started selling off the stock. I think institutions came in here to get from 11.96 to 13, and as of ARK's email today, it was not Kathy Wood. It must have been other institutions, because you just don't go from 11.96 to 12.32 in a matter of an hour and a half if you don't have major buying pressure. And then as that happened, a lot of retail that was probably up 97%, 87% from 6, from 7, etc., 100% in some cases, decided that they were going to take some profits, which is totally fair. Absolutely fair. I think Palantir has to grow into this valuation. I don't think it's unreasonable, and Arnie has done a great job on Twitter kind of talking about how other software companies are actually being valued way higher than Palantir for like less of results in terms of what the numbers that they're showing up. So Palantir's kind of just starting to match them, but nonetheless, I understand why people are selling off. So at 13, we broke through it, and then we started to come right back down to 1264. Still, 1264 today, 1196 at 9:30 a.m. Still a nice 7 to 8% run for the day, which was, obviously pretty awesome. And so for me, this is kind of what I was talking about here in the newsletter. Again, dailypalantir.com/subscribe. I'm going to send this out in about 40 minutes. I think that the what's going on right here is that there is massive volume from the institutional side, and today's volume continued to triple the average volume per day. Let me pull up the volume real quick right now. The volume for Palantir stock today, the volume today was 148 million. So on average, I think it's like 43, 45 million. It's not 148 million. And so if we're getting 148 million shares exchanging hands, that means some big people are coming in and they're deciding to gobble up those shares. The question is who and why are they doing that, right? And as a result of that, that's kind of why we're seeing what's happening. So what I said here is, in general, I like to see a slow and steady 100% rise versus in the matter of weeks. And I think all investors would agree with this, right? If your stocks can go from 6 to 12, you don't want to happen in 2 weeks. You want it to happen over 2, 3, 4 months, because at least then it's more reasonable in terms of how you're seeing the stock go up, and you can buy a little bit more on the way up if you would like to do that. But if the toots are getting in, then they may simply be buying for the summer to establish their positions and moving on. So for example, if I was running a major institutional investment fund, and my clients want AI in their portfolios, which is kind of the buzz that we're getting right now, and they want profitable companies because interest rates are going to continue to remain high. So like, I don't want any of that, oh, we're just going to grow in the future, we're not unprofitable stuff. And I don't want anything that's not resembling the sign of the times, which is artificial intelligence. Well, if that's the case, what is the best alternative that has a decent valuation? I mean, you're not buying Snowflake, right? Like, you're not doing that if you're an institutional manager to give your clients the exposure that they need. Palantir seems like to be the obvious option, not to mention S&P inclusion likely by the end of this year, early next year. So if I'm an institutional investor that's going to sell in May, go away, in fact, for Palantir, I'm like, well, I'll buy it and we'll see what happens over the summer. And I'll go from there, and I won't have to worry about establishing my position. And I think that's what might be happening right now. So even though the run-up is quick, it might not be unwarranted, even if the stock is flat for the coming months. I mean, if the stock is stuck at 1260, I think all of us would be very, very happy, regardless of, how it ends up turning out. And so I think that kind of explains a little bit more of the price action that we're getting there. June 1st will be fun. June 1st, we have FoundryCon. This is also going to be really interesting because Some of these institutional investors might have been invited to FounderCon. They might know something that we don't know in terms of what Palantir is planning to present. I don't think there's going to be any brand new announcements. I just think there's going to be some demos of AIP with some of the beta clients that have been able to use it. And if this CNA company that they did a press release with, and I'm going to talk about today, ends up showing up to FounderCon and talks about how they're using the platform, I think that would explain the press release today as well. Also, the PR that we got today was an international commercial enterprise, which someone mentioned in the comments of the video, and that made me very happy. I forgot to mention it in my video. I was like, oh yeah, got some international clients. We haven't had some international clients in the commercial space for a while. So it was really nice to seeing that. Did ARK load today? No, ARK did not load today, which is why I think that some other institutional investors ended up loading today. Imagine how many people pulled a Chicken Genius today and sold. It's still finished green. Yeah, Chicken, it's interesting. He bought at 7, sold at 9. It's at 13 at one point, 12 at one point. So if he just held on a couple more days, he would have made another 100 grand. If he went from 7 to 9 and he made 100 grand. So look, it is what it is. You can't be upset with 100 grand, but it would probably be nice to have 200 grand. But again, he doesn't have any thesis on it. He's just, trading to trade. And look, it is what it is. My thesis is holding because I actually want to see, what happens over the long term. So I think that's kind of how Chicken handled it. Amit, of course, being on top of Forrester helps. And we have seen this slowly play out, just starting up. Yeah. Remember the Forrester reports. For those that remember, Palantir got the most revenue from AI-based enable software in 2021. So in 2021, the company that sold the most software via AI, this is the Forrester report, this is like the industry standard, was Palantir. Microsoft was second. So, when it comes to AI, I think a lot of institutional investors are kind of realizing where their exposure is, and that ends up just being Palantir. Where do you think it will pull back to? I think it could pull back to 9. I think that's reasonable. I think below 9 is a little unreasonable. It would have to fall close to 35, 40%. I think 9 is absolutely possible. 10 is also possible for it to settle. Now, again, I'm just pulling out numbers. What it pulls back to, I've been saying it would go to 7 after earnings for the past 2 weeks. And I've been saying that publicly and unapologetically because I am very skeptical of Palantir's stock price, even though I'm not as skeptical about the company. So the fact that it has rallied even beyond my expectations is unimaginable. Could it go to 14 tomorrow? Maybe it just busts through that. I would like to see a settling base of 10 to 11 going forward, because that would make me be like, all right, at least we've established this base. This is not going forward from here. We can chill at 10 to 11. We don't have to worry anymore, at least about that. But we will see kind of where it goes from there. Considering NASDAQ was down 1.2%, I'll take a 7% move any day. Yeah, that's a great point by Jake. The NASDAQ was down 1.2% today. And remember, when these indices, that NASDAQ is like 12,000 something, when it moves down 1%, that's hundreds of dollars moving off of an index. And so what we're seeing is individual stocks somewhat rally. NVIDIA has earnings tomorrow, and I think that's going to impact the entire market. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But the indices are flat, right? Or the indices are going down. So 9, respectfully disagree. I hope I'm wrong on it. I just have no idea. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I do think there's a moment where a lot of retail can be like, all right, as soon as it goes to 11, they're like, oh, I need to take my profits because I bought at 7, right? And then it goes to 10. Oh, I need to take my profits because I bought at 7. I'm losing all my gains. I was up at 13. Now I'm up at... It's just how the thing plays out. And so that's where I could imagine us. I mean, even when it went to 13, I think that's where the sell-off came. It was retail investors being like, I bought at 6. I'm up more than 100%. Let me fucking get out of it because I don't really care about Palantir, but, I get to sell. And so at 20, it'll be worse. The amount of people selling at 20 will be crazy, which is why you need a passionate community about a stock, because if you don't have a passionate community about a stock, people are going to leave for a quick 40%, 50%, maybe double. They're not actually going to stay for the thesis. And that's why I love the Tesla community so much, because they actually stayed and saw it out, and they were handsomely rewarded for staying out. And so we'll see from there. Talk about debt ceiling negotiations. There's not much to talk about. There's no default. It'll be negotiated. The Democrats and Republicans are just playing games with each other. For those that are international, in the United States, we have to raise our debt ceiling. It's at 30 trillion. We want to do 31.5 trillion. It will happen. And when everyone in Congress has their money in the stock market, no one wants to see the stock market go to the 1800 on the S&P, as some investment banks are saying that what could happen if we don't reach deal. It'll be fine. And so I don't think there's any macro implication, but we'll see in the next couple of days how it totally plays out. Amit talking market psychology fairly accurately. I love it. And the reason I can talk about this accurately is because I lived it. Like, I lived 3 years ago buying a stock here and then seeing this very quick uptick and just immediately taking it, or a very quick downtick and immediately selling it, even if it's selling at a loss, because I'm like, well, I need to get my money back. And it's just not a healthy mindset to be living. Amit, will you ride it out for the long term or take profits? I am in this for the long term. However, if it goes up to $80 tomorrow, I am out. And I think everyone should get the hell out, because to be up 700%, in a month is insane. But overall, I'm in it for the long term. I genuinely want to see this company play out. And I think 2030 is a reasonable time. I'll be 33 years old. At 33, if my Palantir shares are $100, and given the amount of shares I would have accumulated by then, hopefully in the tens of thousands, that will be a lot of money. And so I had a tweet the other day saying my future wife is out there not knowing that her husband is going to buy them a house with their Palantir shares. So that's going to happen one day, and it'll be really cool. It'll be really cool. All right, let's get to the next piece of news that was very important today as well, which was the CNA brand partnership. So let's pull that up right here. Thank you, 267 people being here. Very, very much appreciated. I know it's a busy day. Some people are probably home from work and just eating or relaxing and chilling. I hope you have some food, you're chilling, and you're listening to someone hopefully explain a little bit about a company that you have some money in. CNA and Palantir developed artificial intelligence model to optimize the product purchasing and inventory restocking process. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm only going to read this part right here, this quote from Bruno Ferreira, who's the planning and business intelligence director for CNA Brazil. CNA, by the way, think of them as H&M for Latin America and Europe. So they sell clothes. That's what they do. They sell clothes. Okay. He says, we're the first Brazilian fashion retail brand to rely on this AI technology. He's talking about Foundry and AIP on top of it. Remember, Foundry is their flagship software. AIP is what Palantir introduced a month ago. The flow developed allowed us to optimize and speed up the entire purchase process. From the initial planning to sending the products to the stores, among the significant gains, I'd highlight the increase of sales of products that were in stock and the reduction of unnecessary overstock. What the guy is saying here is like, look, we put in Palantir into our business, and now we can sell things in a much more effective way because the stuff that's not selling, we know why it's not selling. The stuff that is selling, we know why it is selling. And then it goes deeper into the press release saying they formed a digital twin and they can now simulate new rules and scenarios, thus prevent extreme situations, which overall increases their revenue and their enterprise value. And I thought this PR was one of the best PRs Palantir has ever put out, because for someone who is just trying to understand what is the core value proposition of the company, this is it. You've got a very simple business. They sell clothes, and within that simplicity is the nuance of complexity, because you've got supply chains, logistics, all this stuff to make sure that something ends up on a shelf so that someone can buy it in some store in Brazil. And they have totally digitally transformed their business by implementing Palantir. So this was a great, great PR to see. And it really highlighted some of the core value propositions of Palantir, which at the end of the day is how do you articulate an AI infrastructure for your business without being able to understand the data that guides business decisions. So all of the LLMs that Palantir, the large language models, implemented into CNA was based on the proprietary data. This is the stuff that you can't just get from anywhere. You have to get it from the client. To be able to feed into the LLMs, to be able to produce the actual simulations and scenarios in order to drive business intelligence and business results. The security of that data and the implementation of the infrastructure that enables that data to actually be effective is what Palantir is saying is one of their moats in terms of why they're able to bring this to the enterprises, given that they have IL6 security clearance for the government. So when you talk about security of data, there's not that many better to pick other than Palantir. So that is one of those press releases. I did a video going more in depth into it. Final thing I'll say on this is, and then we'll get to some of the comments. If your competitor is implementing AI, so if like H&M, I don't know if they're a direct competitor with CNA, but let's say they are. If they're implementing Palantir into their business to be able to digitally and more effectively optimize their decision making, they're gonna get more sales. It's just that simple. It's like if you have two stores, one is on the internet, one is not. One has access to 4 billion people that could buy their product. One has access to the people in their location. And as a result of that, it's very important to take it seriously about optimizing and transforming, because if you don't, your competitors will, and that will not be the best. Midwest, thank you for being here. Mike Arcangelo says, bought shares on DPO day and been buying every chance I got. Still don't have enough. LOL. Haven't bought any during the run-up. Kicking myself. Will resume buying again under 12 and go heavier as it falls. That's awesome. And look, I hope people don't, I joke about the FOMO and the memes and stuff. We shouldn't feel bad if you didn't buy enough at 7 or 8, because maybe this goes to 20. Maybe this comes back down to 9. Like, who knows? No one knows. You did the best you could at the time that you could. It's fun to joke about it, but now you just got to see where the price action goes at the end of the day. Right. And you just don't want to buy at an insane valuation. You don't want to wait till it gets you don't want to wait for too low of a price, because then you'll never end up buying. It's just a question of where you feel comfortable DCAing. And look, my average is 15, so I feel very comfortable buying anything under 15, especially under 12, because I have a long way to go to decrease my average. So Just a question of where you feel comfortable with it. But all of us definitely did not buy enough in the 7 or 8s, and that's just kind of how it is. And that's how it always is going to be, no matter what happens. As a community, we should build a floor at 1169. I think we can amass a few 100,000 shares. I would hope so, but there's 2 billion shares outstanding. So obviously the stock is 70% retail, right? So it's just a question of how committed the retail community is. And as much as we love the Palantir retail community, I don't know how many people would diamond hand the stock if it starts falling and their averages are at 6 and 7 and they want to take profits. And I can't blame them. That's just how it is. The funny thing is, if it gets to that level, there's going to be people buying like me. There's going to be people buying that are smarter than me. And there's eventually going to be a world that is driven by AI that we're about to talk about even more, that gets the benefit of Palantir in those and in low share prices. So we will end up seeing what's going to happen. But if it does go that low, I will be a buyer. Buy and hold, you'll be happy in 5 years. There's a guy named Prakash. Thank you to 308 people also for being in the live stream. I really appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day after dinner or after work and you get to enjoy the live stream. Prakash is a man I'm doing an interview with. He sold NVIDIA for like a 2x back in like 2009, 2010. NVIDIA has 50x since then. And so he's been kind of public on Twitter saying like, look, guys, like if you really think Palantir is a once in a lifetime generational company, which he does, know what you hold and shut the hell up and hold because he kicks himself in the ass every day that he sold NVIDIA so early. And I think that will be the same for Palantir if things kind of keep up from there. Just got to work like an hour ago. Shane, what do you do for work? By the way, if you guys are comfortable, I'd really like to know, what does everyone here do for work? What do you do for work? If you feel comfortable disclosing, I would love to know, what do you do to pay the bills in your life? Make sure to put in the chat and I'll put some up on the screen. Thanks for all the work you do, Brian. Thank you for being here. I am not here without you guys. So thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. All right, let's get into the NHS layoffs. Okay, let's get into this. By the way, if you're new here, Kathy Wood did not buy shares today. So the run up we saw of 12, 13% at one point, it had to be some institutional investor, but it was not Kathy Wood. ARK has not bought a bajillion shares that I thought she would buy. So actually, before we go to this piece of news, let's do something a little bit more fun. Let me show you the video. This was the reaction. So in the live stream, by the way, we had 730 people in the live stream in the morning. So thank you all for being there in the live. It was super fun. I was gonna end the live stream at like 10 something, and then I saw Palantir at 1270. And I was like, let me stay here for a second. Then it went to 1290. I was like, no, I'm gonna keep staying here. But then it broke 13. I was like, well, we gotta stay here to see what happens. And so it was really fun kind of watching it play out. This was my live reaction as I saw us get to at least 1270. So here it is. This is a perfect screenshot. This describes how I felt. Wow, holy crap. How did none of you guys say this in the chat? How did none of you say this? We're at 1270. Okay, the reason I did that laugh is because I've been on this Joker binge kind of lately, and like in the Dark Knight, when the Joker gets slammed against the wall, he just starts laughing hysterically because he's like, Batman, you're not a good guy or a bad guy. You're just you. You're trying to act like you're them, and so he's laughing hysterically because he's just like it's just an insane and maniacal laugh, but it doesn't have an evil intent, because he's just like, it's whatever, right? He's absurd, right? He embraces the philosophy of absurdism. So to me, I was like, this price action is absolutely insane. We're already up 40% in a week. And so that laugh came out because I was like, this is just insane. And so this is just how I felt. Let's go. Oh, 7%. Oh, this is amazing. This is fucking amazing. This is great. This is great. This is just, fuck Netflix, bro. This is great. This is great. Holy guacamole. This is unbelievable. Why? Look at this. We're going to get, so on Twitter at 8 p.m., I'm going to tweet out a tweet today, and that tweet will likely say, breaking, ARK buys a bajillion shares of. I will not be tweeting that because ARK did not buy a bajillion shares, but someone did, and we just don't know who that person is. Because like, who else is buying this much? Who else? For a stock to go up, what I realized over the past 4 years of investing, this is like one of the things I realized, for a stock to go up, like people have to buy it. And that was meant to be a joke. I mean, like, obviously I know that, but that was meant to be a joke. But that was kind of crazy, right? That was kind of crazy, some of the price action we saw. We got people in the chat saying they're HVAC. I'm a chef, film score industry, software developer, banker, software engineer, telecoms. I work for Palantir shares. Patent attorney, engineer, cable technician. I'm a partner in an architecture firm. chemical process operator, Midwest. I know what you mean by that. Retired at 48. I love it. Shout out to Utah, Joseph, retiring at 48. That's fucking incredible. Amazing. Jonathan, I'm a doctor. I'm a mobile mechanic in NJ. Adam in the chat. Adam was with us this morning celebrating, seeing what happened. Retired military. Yeah, it was crazy. The random fuck Netflix. No, fuck Netflix was, no, it wasn't random. It was like the show I was putting on in the morning is better than anything on Netflix. That's what I was saying. I was like, man, fuck Netflix. Fuck watching Netflix for entertainment. This is entertainment. Watching the share price go to the freaking moon is entertainment. So it wasn't like a fuck Netflix to say fuck Netflix stock. I've been proving wrong on Netflix stock. I thought Netflix stock would be much worse than it is. It's doing well because the content's good. I have to admit, the content's good. So Sergeant Fisher, thank you again for the super chat. I'm a chairman of a merger and acquisitions firm, former Marine and professional boxer with Sugar Ray Leonard Productions. That's awesome. That's great. Chairman of a merger and acquisitions firm. That's phenomenal. Awesome stuff. Okay, so let's get into the NHS news. Okay, so here's what we got. Tech giant Palantir to cut scores of jobs in London. Let's get into this. The Colorado-based data analytics business co-founded by billionaire Peter Thiel. Every article has to start off billionaire Peter Thiel. I don't know why they think that's like the coolest way to start it off, but whatever. Is because at least it doesn't say Trump supporting blah, 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 blah. Vice can't do that anymore because they're going bankrupt. But it's consulting on proposals to slash as many as 75 jobs from the capital. That would represent a cut of just over 8% of its UK workforce based on staffing numbers. Last year, the company was reportedly exploring expanding to open a second UK base in the north of England, possibly near the NHS digital headquarters in Leeds, but those plans are now under review and a final decision has yet to be taken. Palantir declined to comment. It follows an earlier round of cuts announced by the business in February, in which it laid off 2% of its workforce. The firm previously said in a statement, "We believe our company is at an inflection point and to continue to evolve. We are making the tough choice of reducing teams in several areas. There are incredibly painful decisions, but the right ones for the company's future." Now, why does this have implications on the NHS deal? There's two ways to think about this, okay? Palantir obviously wants to get this NHS deal. It's $500 million over 5 years. It would completely, for one company to transform 70 million people's healthcare the operating system for 70 million people in terms of healthcare, that would be phenomenal. Intuitively, one would argue, instead of opening up a second location, they might not open a second location in the UK and they might lay off people in the UK. So there's not enough jobs because there's not enough demand or work in the UK. Therefore, they don't need to continue operating as a company like substantially. They don't need to keep expanding in the UK because they're not getting one of the biggest deals that would, force them to be in the UK. I mean, if they get the NHS deal, they're going to be hiring a lot of people in London because, you've got to take care of 70 million people's healthcare, right? That's a lot of stuff. So that's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is Palantir already got the NHS deal. And this is what Adam was saying on the morning live stream. And they don't need that many employees. They kind of made the conclusion that, hey, we know how to get this done without having that many employees. So we can cut our workforces. We can continue to remain gap profitable, which I think is something that is very important. And Alex Karp said they're going to continue to be gap profitable every quarter. Look, if you're looking at some of the financials, you're like, all right, we're not making that much revenue this quarter. We need to cut somewhere. Maybe it's cutting in the UK where you just don't need that many people because you already know you got the NHS deal. So there won't be that much type of political backlash as well because, you got the deal and you don't have to worry about NHS administrators getting upset. That might be happening. And so ultimately, we're going to see kind of how it plays out. That is the logic of how I think of this NHS deal. I'll do a video on it a little bit later tomorrow. But overall, that's how I'm considering what's going on with the layoffs. I don't think the layoffs are that big of a deal, if I have to say it off the top of my head. But we'll see. I mean, I honestly have no idea. I've been very clear that I think they're getting this NHS deal. I think it is absurd to argue that any other company could do it other than Palantir, especially if the NHS actually wants to solve the problems. But we will see what happens. We will see what happens with that. NHS sucks ass. I hope Palantir can fix it, but I doubt it. I think Palantir can absolutely fix it. It's just a question of if they get the deal. And I think they're going to get the deal. Odds Karp wears purple into the office. Bro, the day the stock moves up, Karp was going to office wearing like all purple. Like I told you, motherfucker. He just walks into the office flexing his purple. Estudia PhD, thank you for being here. Are you buying more Tesla before it goes past 200 and beyond? I am not. I do not have the cash or capital available to buy more Tesla. Okay, I'm going to bed. Love you guys. Can't believe FJ is starting at 9-2. Yeah, we got to start early today, fuckbucker. But thank you for being here. Get some rest. Appreciate you being here. On Tesla, look, I mean, I don't have the capital to continue to buy that much Tesla. I love Tesla. I think it's still undervalued. I think, it can get past 200. I think, honestly, DCing right now is not a bad thing. I just personally don't have the capital to do it. So not doing that much on Tesla. We will see. I also have a lot of options in Truist, which is a bank that I've been talking about. So a lot of my capital is tied up there. So just don't have that much money to keep buying up Tesla. Teacher. I love teachers. My mom and my sister are teachers. So any teachers in the chat, I have a lot of love and respect for you because I've grown up with teachers my entire life. Dentist. And then someone says they do OnlyFans, which is awesome. OnlyFans is great. I honestly think we see the low 14s before setting in the mid 11s until later this quarter. The week or 2 weeks preceding the next ER will probably see us rise to 18 if profitable. 20 is likely. I think 20 is very likely if we're profitable. I mean, we're profitable this whole year, and S&P inclusion is coming, and we really beat this 18% revenue growth nonsense that Carp is talking about, which I don't think is going to happen. This is going to be really good. This is going to be very, very good. So we're going to see. We're going to see. And we'll see where it goes from there. Okay. Now here's a clip I want to play today. Okay. I'm doing a separate video on this later as well. But I did an interview with CodeStrap a while ago, and some of you may have caught that interview. Some of you may have not caught that interview, but I think for everyone struggling to understand, why is there so much buzz around AI? This was in February 2022, before AI was even a thing. I mean, people were still pumping crypto back then. It seems like it was so long ago, but it was just yesterday. That's over now. Right. And so AI is the new thing, and AI is the actual thing. It's not just a new thing, it's the actual thing. And CodeStrap is here predicting a year ago why he believes that AI is the future and why he believes Palantir is prepared for that future. It's a good 2-3 minute clip. I think it's really worth watching and understanding from someone who's very technical. He now works at PricewaterhouseCoopers implementing Foundry. PwC is a really big consulting firm for other clients. And so this is his perspective on AI and where he sees the world going in conjunction with Palantir. So let's get into Palantir. Why do you think Palantir can change the world? And what makes you excited about this company?
Well, what's perfect about Palantir, so there's a future that's emerging. And in that future, AI is everywhere. And we start to see it a little bit today. It's in your microwave, it's on your stove, it's on your phone. But this is just the precursor. These are the kind of the dumb models. The future edge AI that's coming will actually be able to make changes in the real world. So right now, all the AI does is typically make a recommendation to a human, But in the future, edge AI will act autonomously, right? So whether that's changing the direction of wind blades on a turbine, or changing the production of an oil rig, or, letting you know when your food is done, right? Like edge AI will actually be impacting the real world the way it doesn't today. And that's going to transform our lives. I mean, just think about cars. We've always dreamed.
Now, notice when he said, just 30 seconds ago, he said, there's a future that's emerging, and in that future, AI is everywhere. And so he's now going to explain why AI is transforming everything and how that has implications on businesses and where Palantir's role comes in. The brick wall looks better on the older video. How does the brick wall not look? It maybe looks more real because you guys can't see the creases in it, but there are no creases because it's real, but nonetheless, anyway.
Dreamed of cars that could drive in unison to avoid traffic. Well, edge AI can enable that sort of thing. Right. So there's anomaly detection that can automatically order maintenance service in factories before bearings break down or before parts, fail. This future is rapidly approaching, and Palantir has worked backwards from this future, starting, 10 years ago, figuring out what tools and what products are going to be required in order to operate in that future. And also what philosophies and management structures are required to make sure that technology isn't misused. Because if we look today, companies like Google and Facebook have done a phenomenal job monetizing personal data. The social consequences be damned. I think that Palantir is also the right company from a philosophical managerial perspective to not allow the power of edge AI to be misused in the same way social media and ad serving technology has been misused today. That they're the right company to do it, specifically because they've worked backwards from this problem, both from a technical perspective and from a kind of philosophical perspective, and they did it a long time ago, and they're way out ahead, in that sense. So that's why I'm super pumped on them.
Sorry, I was muted. Muted. So as CodeStrap is saying, they understand it from a technical perspective, but they also understand it from a philosophical perspective, which is why they've been able to enable they've been able to enable other businesses to really grasp the full power of AI. And they've been doing this for 20 years. There are not many companies on the market that have thought about one thing exclusively for 20 years. If you were here yesterday on the live stream, we talked about, what's his name? We talked about Peter Thiel, right? Peter Thiel being at the Bilderberg meeting 6 years ago and how he was with Sam Altman. Peter Thiel has been thinking about AI for a long time. And so is Sam Altman. And that's why Sam Altman now is the CEO of AI, of OpenAI. And so, this is a company that's been thinking about the philosophical implications. I did a video on Peter Thiel, I think, on Monday as well. That's important to understand, which is how he thinks about big government and how he thinks about Palantir's role helping big government. So it's a unique philosophical kind of inquiry he does into the nature of stopping bad things from happening in order to stop the state from being more authoritarian. And that's where you need algorithms and technology, but you need advanced, AI, ML algorithms to be able to stop those bad things from happening in the first place in order to stop the state from becoming more authoritarian. These are deeply, deeply philosophical issues that are embedded within the technology of Palantir. And I don't think there's any other company, maybe outside of Tesla, that has thought about the philosophical implications of this. And now, a year later, I kind of understand what Coatstrap means when he's talking about Google and Facebook have leveraged artificial intelligence to, basically monopolize the entire internet. And I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but the social consequences of it, they have not cared about, which, you could argue there have been good social consequences from it. I mean, phenomenal ones, but there have also been some bad ones. And I don't think it's, it's not which one outweighs on the scale. It's just Palantir has always been conscious of like the implications, i.e. they don't work with Russia and China, right? To kind of uphold how technology can help expand Western democracy and actually make the world a better place versus, manipulating and exploiting people. And so that's not to say Google and Facebook necessarily always do that, but that is to say that there is a little bit of stuff to understand when we think about the big tech companies that have created their big technological moats. And so that's why it's really interesting. This AI buzz that's happening. Which company are you going to bet on as an AI play over the next decade? Again, in terms of stock price action and returns, Microsoft and Google, they are already $1 trillion companies. You're expecting them to become a $10 trillion company. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But it's hard for me to imagine that happens as easily as we would see Palantir go from a $20 billion to a $200 billion company, especially in 2030. $200 billion is not going to be that much just with inflation, right? $200 billion is going to be pennies compared to what it is now. And so we're going to see kind of where it goes from there. Coatstrap was one of the best gaps to help me understand the power of Palantir. Yeah, he's been great. He's been absolutely great. So it's been awesome having Coatstrap. Apple and Palantir stock both lay dormant for 2 decades. Yeah. Well, Palantir obviously wasn't public, but correct, right? There have been stocks that have been dormant for long. I mean, Tesla and Nvidia are perfect examples. And then, when they rip, if you had your shares, you were just on that roller coaster. You were just on that ride, and you were seeing it happen. Meta's focused on one thing for 20 years. Yes, they focused on advertising, and that's why they're pivoting to this metaverse stuff, which I don't think is like the most interesting at all. But that's kind of where they've been. And that's how they've thought of this. Palantir is focused on many things over the past 20 years, and a lot of them have been about geopolitical implications of how we use technology to make things better. Do you speak with Coatstrap privately? I do. I have his phone number, and we text. Not every day or anything like that, but we've had phone calls privately, and he really believes in Palantir. I'll say that he absolutely believes that Palantir can be gigantic. He just can't talk publicly about it anymore because and he doesn't tell me anything he hasn't told you guys on his videos. It's just two people that are excited about the company. He might come to New York one day, and we might meet up with him and Adam Bergman. I think in like 2 weeks, maybe we'll get some drinks, even though I don't drink, so I'll be having my little water while I'm there. But yeah, we'll see if that ends up happening. Both my roommates in Redmond, Washington worked for Microsoft in 1991, and I still didn't buy it. Both are big-time millionaires now, of course. Well, you're retired at 48, Todd, so you did something right, even if you didn't buy Microsoft in 1991. But yeah, I mean, could you imagine in 2040 not buying Palantir? It's like, were we fucking dead? Because now you look at Microsoft, like you had a chance to buy Microsoft in 1991. Let's see the returns on Microsoft. What are the returns on Microsoft from 1991? 1991. Okay, let's go to MSFT stock. Okay, so 1991, the stock was, let's just pick about $1.78. So now it's 315. That's it's a little bit higher than it was then. So if you had bought, a couple thousand shares for $1, so you put $5,000 in it and just held, that's what would have happened. That's what would have happened. That's just beautiful. Look at that. Let's look at Google. What does Google stock look like? Google stock max. It's also very beautiful. Look at that. $2 IPO 2004. Just run up and 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 up. Google's high was what, 150, 148? So 122. It's nearing into those all-time highs. Interesting. I think it was like 2.2 trillion on the market cap when that happened. DNA, Ginkgo Bioworks, Shyam Sankar, the CTO of Palantir, bought 400,000 shares with this yesterday. And this stock has also been nicely moving up, at least today. In the past month, it's up 20%. I would be very skeptical of buying the stock right now. I think management has to show a lot more execution, even if it goes to $2. Like, they've been selling the crap out of the insider sales on this has been just absolutely abhorrent. Like, abhorrent. Like, there's insider selling, and then there's insider, like, fuck you selling. And that's kind of what Ginkgo has felt like over the past couple of months. So I'm very skeptical. I believe long-term in the company, very bullish on synthetic biology and the particular technology platform they use to enable synthetic biology, but not so keen on how management is treating the company. Because when you're selling they SPAC'd at 15, you're selling at $1.10. Really? Really, bro? Really? You want me to trust you? And you're like, no, not doing that. Not doing that. So we got to wait. If you had bought $1,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you would have $3.82 million today. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. That $45 Microsoft I bought in 2015 helped me put 20% on my house. Thanks, Bill. Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. All right, we're going to end out the segment. We have about 5 minutes left to end out Daily Palantir episode number 002. And because of that, I think the last 5 minutes every day, we will go through the Twitter sphere and see what's going on. Adam Bergman and Chris Patel had a bet on which one would outperform Palantir or Snowflake over the past year. Loser has to chalk up $2,000, and Chris lost. So, well, Chris is losing. We'll see what happens over the next couple of months, but Chris is currently down. Let's go check some of my tweets, and we'll check some of the replies as well. By the way, Daily Palantir newsletter, I still have not sent it out. Let me put it in the description. Please subscribe to this. Please subscribe. If you are a Palantir shareholder, you should want an update every day on the company. So please check out. I put it in the chat. DailyPalantir.com/subscribe, newsletter every single day. So this is the meme I tweeted. Me buying Palantir at 13, me buying Palantir at 7. Let's read some of the replies. But to be fair, if you had already had it from the hand holding, it's fair game to flirt with the next one. That's true. This guy said, my sister's wedding, Amit hitting break even on Palantir. That's hilarious. That was very funny. More is more when you know that triple digits could happen in the next 2 to 3 decades. You should buy at 13 and 17, and you have funds as long as your conviction is very high. Both investments will earn well. And then some people are saying we're going to have FOMO or it's going to come back to $7, $8. So we had some of that. Shout out to Joel. He was watching my new video in his Tesla. Shout out to him, man. He just bought a Tesla all by himself. So he was watching me in his Tesla. This was super cool to see. So shout out to him. This is the video he put out. This is from today's Palantir's PR. Again, I said Palantir wants to help retailers to Fortune 500 implement this intelligence to transform their entire business. So today's PR is so special because it's a simple example to understand the value prop of AIP on top of Palantir as well. Now, someone said this, everything you wanted Karp to do, he has done, including bring funds back. Give Karp his due. I said Karp said they'd be gap profitable and introduce products that change the world because those products actually matter. So far as executing, today's PR highlights how easily any company in the world could benefit off AIP, which is kind of fulfilling the thesis Palantir has been selling me. This is when the stock hit $13.29. It was up 12.25%. It was just insane. Just insane seeing that. So that was pretty cool. Stock was up 10%. This was one of my tweets when Palantir was up 5%. I said, I think Kathy saw Zoom earnings and saw 5% revenue growth year over year and decided to just buy more Palantir. Zoom was down 7% today. This is the third largest holding in ARK. She thinks it can become a $1,500 stock by 2026, which is a 21x return from this price, or a little bit more than a 21x return now, versus Palantir at 1247. Now we saw, if you're new here to the live stream, just in the past couple of minutes, ARK did not buy. ARK did not buy today. So some institutions bought. I don't know which institutions bought, but it was not ARK. It was not ARK Invest. Not today. Not today. You guys clipped when I showed you the whiteboard yesterday. You guys clipped that stuff. And this guy said, this is a myth talking about Palantir. It was a lot. Look, man, absolutely amazing day. Great run up. We've still got a lot more news to cover over the next couple of days. A bunch of stuff. Palantir Weekly, we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. But the company is getting to a point where there is a lot of stuff going on. And if Carp is correct on where this AIP thing is going, it's going to be kind of crazy. And then in about 8 days, we have FounderCon. June 1st, which is going to be even more stuff. Hopefully we get a bunch of demos of AIP and we see from there. All right. Tyler, I didn't see your comment. Just tag me again right now on Twitter. Just at me right now under your comment and I'll go check it out right now. Okay. That's it. We have Finance Junkies in 15 minutes. It is a podcast with me, myself. And I said me, Chris, Vitaly, and Carlos. We are talking all things Tesla. So if you want to get your Tesla fix, you want to show up there. We're talking about Elon getting Ron DeSantis to announce his presidential bid tomorrow in Twitter Spaces. It is going to be absolutely insane. No matter what happens to Palantir tomorrow, Twitter is going to be taken over by Ron DeSantis, making a presidential announcement on the newest free speech platform, which is Elon Musk's Twitter. So we got that to talk about. We got Tesla to talk about, a lot of different stuff. So we'll keep going from there. 14 minutes, get some food. Go say goodnight to your wife and your kids because you have something to do. Let them know that you're hanging out with the boys tonight. When I'm talking about the boys, we're talking about the Finance Junkies. Get comfortable, and we're about to put on a bit of a show. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in 13 minutes. Bye-bye.